Get down! Get down! Get down! There is always a sharp, urgent fear in the air when law enforcement is facing armed criminals. Every command matters. Every movement matters. One wrong second can turn into bloodshed. Get your hands up. This was an extremely dangerous crew. They were disciplined, prepared, and well-rehearsed. They were heavily armed, and they were ready to fight if they had to. To the agents watching them, it was only a matter of time before someone got hurt. They were not careless amateurs. They were cold, violent men who knew exactly how to do damage. The mission was clear. Take them off the street as quickly as possible. Then the moment came. It was on. Adrenaline-fueled manhunts, tactical takedowns, high-stakes games of cat and mouse. Across America, elite FBI teams hunt down some of the country's most wanted criminals. Every day, they put their lives on the line to protect people they may never meet. This is law enforcement pushed to the edge. This is FBI takedowns. The day begins quietly in the Boston area, the kind of calm that makes danger feel far away. But a routine armored car pickup is about to become anything but routine. Put your hands up! Get down! Hands up! Hands up! The first robber's job is to take control of the courier. The second robber moves in to disarm that courier. The third robber goes after the driver and takes away his weapon too. The crew is heavily armed. They are prepared to do battle if necessary. In an armored car robbery, the criminals know the guards are armed as well, and that makes every encounter dangerously unstable. The robbers behind these jobs know their business, and they know it well. They are quick. Their goal is simple: get in, grab the money, and disappear before anyone can stop them. The robbery in Lynn, Massachusetts is shocking, but it is only one of many armored car heists spreading across the Boston area. Armored cars are being hit at a startling rate, far more often than in most places. Two suspects wait inside the Bank of Boston lobby. An armored car is hijacked as it pulls in. The threat becomes so serious that the FBI's Boston field office forms a specialized bank robbery task force. Whenever there is a bank robbery or armored car robbery in their area, the task force gets the call. The assault vehicle is a minivan with handicap plates. The windows have been darkened so no one can see inside. The seats have been stripped out to make room for the robbery team. The robbers wear full Halloween masks that completely hide their identities. They are professionals. That becomes even clearer when investigators later find the getaway vehicle. The inside has been completely burned out, a deliberate attempt to destroy any evidence left behind. Fingerprints, DNA, hair, or anything else forensic examiners might recover. These men strike fast, then vanish in smoke. The clues begin lining up. Handicap plates, masks, burned vehicles, it has to be the same group. All signs point toward one notorious Boston neighborhood, Charlestown. Among law enforcement, Charlestown has a reputation. When a robbery is sophisticated, carefully planned, or aimed at an armored car, investigators know there is a strong chance someone from Charlestown is involved. Most of Charlestown is a working-class community, but a small criminal element has shaped the neighborhood's darker image. Historically, many bank robbers have come from there. So when a robbery like this happens, agents begin their search in Charlestown. A young agent is once told that the neighborhood's criminal history reaches back to the old state prison that stood there. Families moved nearby to visit inmates. When some of those inmates were eventually released, they stayed, settled down, and put down roots. Charlestown becomes known as a close-knit, almost tribal neighborhood. It is a strong Irish enclave, small in size but intense in loyalty. Families live there for generations and many never leave. In some families, the trade of bank robbery, armored car robbery, and petty theft is passed from one generation to the next. For a small criminal circle in Charlestown, becoming a successful bank robber is treated almost like a rite of passage. For better or worse, many residents fiercely protect their neighborhood's secrets. Agents walk the streets and ask questions. "Can I speak to you for a minute?" People turn away. Some refuse to answer. Others make it clear they have no interest in helping. Charlestown is known for its code of silence. Very few people are willing to give information about the robbers. Some stay quiet out of admiration. Some stay quiet out of fear. Either way, it makes investigations extremely difficult. People from Charlestown do not rat. They do not snitch. Nobody wants to testify. Code of silence, man. On the street, those words become a mocking way of saying, "Get lost, do not bother me." Agents searching for information about the Lynn robbery get nowhere. Then another armored car heist happens, and its resemblance to the Lynn robbery is impossible to ignore. This one is even more polished. The robbers understand how armored car routes work. The best parking spaces are often handicap spaces, and armored car guards want to spend as little time as possible between the business and the truck. So the robbers use that to their advantage, positioning themselves close to the front door. They are well rehearsed and well planned. They case their targets. They conduct surveillance. They steal cars and prepare switch vehicles. They wear masks and gloves. They avoid leaving evidence behind. They also carry extra athletic clothing so they can strip off layers after the robbery and change their appearance. These brazen criminals even have backup plans in case the fire does not destroy everything. They try to contaminate evidence. For example, they collect hair from the floor of a barbershop and spread it inside getaway vehicles, hoping to confuse forensic testing. They have committed enough robberies to become disturbingly good at it. These are not amateurs who accidentally call each other by name during a job. They are organized, careful, and dangerous. Even so, agents believe they have an idea of who may be leading the operation: Nolan Rourke. Rourke is a professional bank robber and armored car robber. The FBI has information that he is active, which makes agents believe he is likely involved in the robbery and possibly in others as well. Rourke is meticulous when he studies a location. His caution comes from experience. He has already served time for bank robbery, and prison is a place he swears he will never return to. At one point, many bank robberies are carried out by men wearing presidential masks. Rourke often claims he was the first to use those masks, and that the idea helped inspire a famous movie about masked robbers. If Rourke is their man, the FBI needs to bring him in soon. If he remains free, there's a real danger someone will be killed. Rourke is ruthless enough to pull a gun and shoot if he feels cornered. As armored car heists around Boston reach frightening levels, the FBI's Boston Bank Robbery Task Force has reason to believe that Nolan Rourke and his crew are somehow involved. There is no tangible evidence yet tying Rourke to the recent jobs, but the robberies strongly resemble the old Minutemen robberies he was connected to. The Minutemen robberies are a series of highly planned bank robberies carried out by Rourke, Brogan Vale, and their criminal associates. Their method is called a takeover robbery. The robbers do not simply threaten a teller from the customer side of the counter. They take control of the bank. They jump counters, get behind teller lines, and try to reach the vault for more money. Rourke heads directly for the vault. Vale scoops cash from teller drawers. A third man controls the floor with a stopwatch, calling out the pace as the crew moves. They want to be in and out before anyone can react. That is how the Minutemen earn their name. They storm in, take the money, and get out quickly, so the odds of being caught during the robbery are far lower than they would be for an untrained crew. Everything is planned. They never linger at the scene. Later, it appears the Minutemen have graduated from terrorizing bank tellers to knocking off armored cars. That is how the criminal path often moves in Charlestown. In that world, bank robberies can lead to armored car robberies because armored cars can carry more money. If the crew can get inside the armored car or sees the bags being delivered or picked up, the payoff can be much bigger. But robbing armored cars means confronting armed guards, and that immediately raises the potential for violence. This is not a game for amateurs. With Rourke and Vale on their radar, the task force places them under surveillance and begins compiling a list of other likely Minutemen. Rourke is smart, cunning, cautious, and deliberate. He does not allow just anyone into his inner circle. Callahan Briggs is another intelligent, low-key individual. Rourke likes working with him because he is skilled. Briggs becomes one of the key minds behind the crew's move from bank robberies to armored car robberies. Declan Mercer is older. He is known as a 10% man, someone who sets up a job in exchange for a cut of the take. Ronan Keefe grows up in Charlestown and serves time in federal prison for bank robbery. His nickname is the Quiet Man because no one ever seems to know when he is around or involved in anything. The wild card in the crew is Rourke's right-hand man, Brogan Vale. Vale has a violent past. He is a cold, reckless addict who was convicted of murdering a criminal associate in Charlestown. After his release from prison, he connects with Rourke. Agents know a lot about the crew. They know who they are, where they live, and how they operate. What they do not know is where they will strike next or how to catch them. Surveillance in Charlestown is difficult. Agents stand out. The neighborhood is condensed, tightly connected, and everyone seems to know everyone else. But the task force faces another problem too. Rourke's crew is not the only group robbing armored cars. The Boston FBI office has many investigations unfolding at the same time. Sometimes the suspects are under surveillance. Other times, resources are pulled away because another case demands attention. For the Minutemen, this business model works. Robbing armored cars and banks is what they do for a living. They have to keep stealing to keep the money flowing. Depending on how successful one robbery is, investigators can sometimes estimate when another one may be coming. After another major heist, the crew takes down more armored cars around the Boston area. Eventually, the FBI suspects their money is running low again, meaning another robbery is close. The armored car arrives, the courier exits the vehicle, walks into the bank, and makes deliveries. The more robberies the crew commits, the more likely violence becomes. To investigators, it feels inevitable. Sooner or later, someone is going to get hurt. For a long stretch, a specialized FBI task force has been trying to bring down this notorious gang of professional armed bandits. Then the unthinkable happens. The courier exits and opens the door. At that point, the assault crew jumps from the minivan. The first robber gets control of the courier. It's a robbery! Almost immediately, a gunshot is heard, and one of the guards goes down. The courier reaches for his weapon, so he is shot and thrown into the minivan. Then one of the robbers makes his way into the armored car. Callahan Briggs enters the driver's compartment and gets into a struggle with the driver. During the fight, Briggs loses his mask. What happened? The scumbag took my mask off. The Hudson robbery is not typical of how this crew operates. In the past, shots have not been fired. No one has been wounded. This is far beyond their usual pattern. It is a horrendous armored car robbery. Now everything is falling apart. After years of following the same playbook, the crew finally breaks its routine. Realizing the robbery has gone wrong, they drive the armored car and the van to a wooded area where a rental truck is waiting as a getaway vehicle. Pelham Road is a long backcountry road with only a few houses nearby. A dirt path leads into the woods. At that location, the crew switches vehicles. The money from the armored car is transferred into the rental truck. But one loose end remains. What will they do with the wounded courier, Garrett Bell? Take the money and go, please. Bell pleads for his life. You do not have to do this. Please, you can let me go. Do not do this. Ronan Keefe begins duct taping Bell's hands and ankles. He even tries to comfort him, reassuring him that he will be okay. But the crew knows Bell has seen their faces. He knows where they are from. Then the decision is made. He has to be killed. Bell begs them not to do it. Then he is executed. To preserve the code of silence and make sure no single man is more culpable than the others, each member of the crew shoots both guards. The theory is brutal. If all of them are equally guilty, none of them has an incentive to become the weak link and talk to police. This is not something investigators normally see during a robbery. 2 executions make the crime far more horrifying. Killing the witnesses does not end the crew's problems. A mechanic at a nearby vehicle dump sees the rental truck and a white car leaving the woods. He calls police. Hudson police arrive at one of the most gruesome crime scenes in the town's history. Detective Hayes Marlowe is among the first to respond. It is a scene he never forgets. He receives a call telling him to return immediately because there has been a robbery and it has gone terribly wrong. Police believe the robbers drove the truck and other vehicles in a caravan to a clearing off Pelham Road. One witness reports seeing a van pull out. When Hudson police first arrive, they avoid walking straight down the pathway. Instead, they cut through the woods so they do not contaminate any evidence that may be on the path. They hope to preserve everything the killers might have left behind: footprints, tire tracks, and any trace evidence. Then they find Garrett Bell's body. He has been restrained and executed. Nearby is the armored car. The scene is traumatic for everyone. The FBI rushes in. Murder is not the usual method of the Charlestown crew, but the robbery still feels like their work. From the first day of the investigation, agents suspect the Charlestown armored car robbers may be involved. Agents always knew what this crew was capable of. They only hoped to catch them before the crimes escalated to murder. Now the FBI sends in every resource it can: evidence technicians, surveillance squads, and investigators. This time the crew flees without fully covering its tracks. They leave behind the mask inside the armored car, along with footprints, other trace evidence, and a tire print on the side of Pelham Road that becomes critical to the case. The decision by Hudson officers to cut through the woods pays off. Forensic technicians make casts of the tire track. If investigators can find the getaway vehicle, they can compare the tread. The task force brings in respected composite sketch artist Mason Reed to interview witnesses near both the bank and the dump site. Reed goes to a local diner to test a theory. The crew's method is not simply to show up at a target. They study it first. They case the location. They observe it. They return until they understand the routine. So Reed asks the waitresses whether they have seen unfamiliar men coming in. They have. Waitresses can be excellent witnesses. Their livelihood depends on memory. They remember faces, habits, and details. They know who orders what, who sits where, and who does not belong. Even a brief encounter can leave a strong impression. Reed's hunch pays off. The waitresses describe Nolan Rourke and his crew. The task force now has the positive link to Rourke that it has been searching for, but agents still need concrete physical evidence before they can take him and his gang off the street for good. Their witness at the vehicle dump may hold the key. He has worked on truck engines and car engines his whole life. Because of that, he is able to describe not only the truck, but also the kind of engine it has. The rental truck is a cab-over design, meaning the cab sits directly over the engine. A state trooper begins searching rental companies that might have that specific kind of truck. It turns out only one place in the region rents cab-over trucks. Investigators discover that one of those trucks was rented before the robbery. The next step is figuring out when it will be returned. They call the company and learn the truck is due back soon. A plan is put in place. A state trooper will pose as an employee of the rental company and receive the truck when it returns, allowing investigators to see exactly who brings it back. The undercover officer only has to wait for the suspect to come to him. But whoever is driving may be nervous after the botched robbery. The robber is now a desperate wanted killer, which means the officer must be ready for anything. Through quick thinking and strong detective work, the FBI Bank Robbery Task Force learns that the truck used in the deadly Hudson armored car robbery is on its way back to a Boston rental lot. To identify the driver, an undercover state trooper poses as an employee. The trooper is in place as the truck pulls into the lot. No one knows who will get out or what may happen if the driver realizes he is facing law enforcement. Declan Mercer returns the truck to the rental company. It is the same Declan Mercer known to associate with Nolan Rourke, Brogan Vale, and the rest of the Minutemen bank robbers. Could I get you to sign this? Agents are present when Mercer returns the vehicle. It is immediately clear he is either involved or knows who is involved in the crime. The FBI and Massachusetts State Police open their intelligence files on him. But returning a truck is not enough for an arrest, so they let Mercer walk for now. The vehicle is impounded by the FBI for further examination. A forensic team goes over the rental truck carefully. Special Agent Arden Pike, head of the FBI's Boston Evidence Response Team, gives it a meticulous examination. His job is to evaluate the evidence that has been collected. More specifically, the team is processing the truck for fingerprints. One print looks especially promising. A state police lieutenant dusts along the molding of the truck's side door. As the powder moves across the surface, a fingerprint appears. Pike photographs it, lifts it, and sends it to AFIS, the FBI's integrated automated fingerprint identification system. Investigators run numerous prints from the rental truck through the database, but only one print identifies a member of the crew. The fingerprint belongs to Callahan Briggs. From that point on, evidence begins developing against the crew for the robbery and the murders. To make their case, agents need a strong foundation. That begins with proving the rental truck is linked to the location where the guards' bodies were dumped. A lab examiner builds a frame, fills it with packed sand, and drives the truck over it to capture the tire impression. Investigators make a cast of that tire mark and compare it with the cast from the crime scene. They are certain they have the right vehicle. Now they have conclusively tied 2 members of the Charlestown crew to the Hudson robbery and murders. It is a strong start, and it gives the task force leverage that may help bring down the entire group. The Hudson events shake the once meticulous gang so badly that they begin making foolish mistakes. A car is later found burning in Revere by a police officer. The vehicle has not fully burned. Inside the trunk are items that can still be processed as evidence. The crew set the car on fire but closed the windows. With the car sealed, the fire lost oxygen and went out. Investigators find T-shirts inside, including one connected to a leprechaun logo. The Boston Leprechaun logo belongs to a softball team at a federal prison in Virginia. A former member of that team, Nolan Rourke, now certain about who he is dealing with, lead investigator Everett Sloan heads to Charlestown. He is determined to find someone with ties to Rourke's crew, someone he can persuade to break the code of silence. Silas Crow is a mid-level drug dealer. He supplies Nolan Rourke. He also supplies Brogan Vale. Agents go to Crow's girlfriend's apartment trying to locate him. They are working to establish alibis, then break those alibis with facts. When Sloan first meets Crow, he walks straight into a full-blown domestic dispute between Crow and his pregnant girlfriend. It is a terrible mess, and agents have to break it up. Like everyone else in Charlestown, Crow refuses to talk to the FBI. I just want to ask a few questions. No way, man. Code of silence. I'm not talking about anything. But when Crow is arrested later on unrelated charges, Sloan sees an opportunity. He strongly believes Crow can help. He also believes that if they can convince Crow's girlfriend, they may be able to reach Crow himself. So agents periodically check in on her. If she needs money for milk, they give her money for milk. At first, she pushes them away. You cannot be here. Sloan keeps his approach calm. I'm just trying to help you. With Crow out of the picture, little by little, she begins to warm to the FBI's efforts. Meanwhile, under the watchful eye of the task force, Nolan Rourke and his crew are on their best behavior. They know they made a serious mistake by shooting the guards, and they are being extra cautious. They do not flash money. They keep money hidden and spend it slowly, supporting their children and the mothers of their children. Their lifestyle is not flashy enough to draw attention. Days turn into weeks as agents continue building their case. Brogan Vale is arrested on a parole violation and sent to prison in New Hampshire. With Vale out of the picture, the crew feels more vulnerable. But is that enough to convince Silas Crow's girlfriend to help? In Charlestown, no one rats ever. It is time for Agent Sloan to make another move and change that. Every time agents visit Crow's girlfriend, they leave her with the thought that something better may be possible if she and Crow decide together to cooperate. Eventually it works. She convinces Crow to talk. Agents remove him from the correctional institution where he is being held and spend hours speaking with him about everything he can do for them. Crow has information on almost every bank and armored car robbery connected to the crew. The agents have finally cracked the code of silence. Now it is time to use it. Crow is transferred to the same prison as Brogan Vale. How are they treating you in here? I'm fine. A wire is placed on Crow. During yard time, he walks with Vale and starts a conversation. How is Rourke doing? Is he mad? No, man, he is cool. The most important thing Vale tells Crow is that he does not mind going to prison for the Hudson case, as long as it is not because of some mistake he made. Then he admits it. I knew I burned that car the wrong way. Vale's job was to burn the vehicle, but he failed. I messed up, man. With Vale's recorded admission, the FBI can now connect another Minutemen crew member to the Hudson double murder. But the task force is determined to get everyone, especially the man at the top, Nolan Rourke. As agents continue debriefing Crow, he talks about his knowledge of bank robberies involving Rourke, Vale, Keefe, Briggs, and the others. The FBI begins considering a RICO prosecution. RICO, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, is the federal statute often used to go after organized crime groups. It allows prosecutors to treat a group as a criminal organization engaged in bank robbery, extortion, conspiracy, and other crimes. It is designed to be powerful in cases involving organized, repeated criminal activity. For a crew like this, with careful planning, conspiracy, and a long pattern of crimes, RICO can be extremely effective. A RICO conviction could mean life sentences for the Charlestown crew. But RICO cases are not without risks. Rourke is still on the street. Ronan Keefe and Callahan Briggs are smart enough to stay completely quiet. They lay low and avoid criminal activity. Rourke, however, cannot help himself. He has to rob something. Robbery is part of Rourke's nature, and he will not stop until the FBI takes him down. After the murders of the two guards, a crack in Charlestown's once impenetrable code of silence gives the FBI the edge it needs to close in on its prime suspects. Everything agents have learned about the crew makes one thing clear. These men must be taken off the street as quickly as possible. The FBI keeps surveillance on its suspects for a long time. One surveillance team watching Nolan Rourke sees him steal a Jeep Cherokee. To investigators, there is only one reason for Rourke to steal a vehicle. The crew follows patterns. They steal a car, stash it, and later use it in a robbery. After the Jeep is stolen, it is driven from the south side of Boston, through the city, and up to Peabody, a suburb north of Boston. There, it is left in a hotel parking lot. When agents see that, they hope they are finally ahead of the crew. They place surveillance on the vehicle. One agent is also able to obtain a court order authorizing them to install a microphone and listening device inside it. The FBI keeps eyes on Rourke around the clock. They know he is going to hit a bank. So the special surveillance group watches the vehicle and watches Rourke, waiting for him to make his move. Agents observe Rourke and his new accomplices as they select a target. They are casing banks, trying to decide which one to rob. Then they start returning again and again to a bank in Wakefield. Once the target is chosen, agents know the robbery is close. The waiting finally pays off. The surveillance team reports that someone has returned to the Jeep. A second vehicle, a Ford Bronco, is involved. There are 3 people altogether. The Bronco pulls up, 2 men get out and climb into the Jeep. Then both vehicles leave together. They park the Bronco away from the Wakefield bank. One person remains in the Bronco. Rourke and another accomplice continue toward the bank in the Jeep. What they do not know is that an FBI SWAT team is following them every step of the way. The plan is to trap them once they reach the parking lot before they can enter the bank. The timing is delicate. Agents do not want the robbers inside the bank, but they also have to let them go far enough for the law to support the arrest. If they stop them too early, the robbers can claim they only thought about robbing the bank, but changed their minds. The suspects approach the bank slowly, moving through the parking lot. The SWAT team moves into position. Agents watch the bank and listen through the bug inside the vehicle. Rourke begins explaining the plan. I am going into the vault and clearing it out. You go straight for the teller. It is on. Agents move in to surround Rourke's SUV. When the driver sees vehicles closing in, he reacts. The man in the back seat asks what is wrong. Rourke tries to brush it off and keep talking. Then he sees the truth. Feds. The takedown explodes. Hands up! Put your hands up. Drop the gun. The scene is chaotic. SWAT team members are shouting commands. The passenger in the back has a submachine gun, and agents are deeply concerned for their safety. Drop the gun! Drop it! Keep your hands up. Once the suspects are secured, an agent removes the mask from the driver. It is Nolan Rourke. For the agent who places the handcuffs on him, the moment is deeply satisfying. He has investigated Rourke's robberies. He has spoken to frightened witnesses. He has seen the fear this man created. Now Rourke is no longer in control. The FBI is. What goes around has come around. Rourke is finally behind bars. It takes more work to build cases against the rest of the Charlestown crew. Once investigators determine they have enough probable cause, a plan is created to arrest the entire group at the same time. The idea is to move on all of them together. Agents work through the list of suspects, checking names off as they are taken into custody. One by one, the crew members are arrested. For investigators, it feels like the end of an era, even though they know another era may someday follow. When Declan Mercer is arrested, Hudson police handcuffs are placed on his wrists. It is a symbolic gesture, but an important one for the people of Hudson. The town has been deeply shaken by the crime. Law enforcement wants the community to know they did not give up. They brought this man to justice, and Hudson police handcuffs are placed on him as he is led away. Nolan Rourke, Brogan Vale, Callahan Briggs, Ronan Keefe, and Declan Mercer are charged under the federal RICO statute. Rourke, Vale, Briggs, and Keefe are convicted in federal court on numerous racketeering charges, including bank robbery and the murders of the 2 guards in Hudson. They receive life sentences. Mercer, who is not charged with the Hudson deaths, is also convicted of racketeering and receives a lengthy prison sentence. He dies behind bars. For Nolan Rourke in Charlestown, his role models were fathers, uncles, and brothers involved in criminal activity. Crime was the world he grew up around. Rourke and Vale both tell Crow that everyone thinks they do it for the money. But money is only part of it. They do it for the rush. They do it for the feeling of power. To the agents who hunted them, they are awful human beings. In the end, the FBI pulls it off. It takes patience, pressure, evidence, courage, and the slow breaking of a code that once seemed impossible to crack. When it is finally over, there is a tremendous exhale. The nightmare is over. The crew is off the street, and the city can breathe again.